soy el fuego que...
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to your Realtor Sensei show. We have here our guest, Pablo Urquiaga, and he's welcome to our show. Thank you very much, Pablo, to be here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Sandra.
You're welcome. So, Pablo, with more than 15 years of career marketing and entrepreneurial experience, Pablo Urquiaga offers expertise in executing cutting-edge marketing strategies for both local and national business. As a founder and director of business development for his own advertising and digital film MC2 Media Solutions, Pablo offers a wealth of service including market research, media placement, digital promotion and events, video production, creative designs, analytics, mobile and interactive marketing, and TV radio production. Pablo, tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, Sandra. So I was actually born in New Jersey, and I moved here as a kid to South Florida at the age of 10, and always was heavily into sales. My mom actually worked in TV for a very long time. So, it was always around me as far as a little bit of TV programming and, everything in regards to promotions. And I was always excited about that as a kid. Anyways, so I fell into real estate probably by the time I was 19 to 20 years old. I was bartending for a hotel called the Mandarin Oriental in Brickell Key. It just opened at that time. I believe it was just the first year it opened, first or second year. And it was a pleasure to work there. I got a chance to meet a lot of, big shots in the real estate industry, I guess you would say, because they would come there and celebrate a lot of their closings and whatnot. And my first opportunity came from my beverage manager. He was also a realtor, and he asked me if I was interested in investing into a pre-construction opportunity at that time when the downtown and district and all that area was very different from what it is right now. And thank God I did. I decided to do that and move forward. And that's how I kind of fell into this whole real estate world, I guess you would say, and marketing for real estate.
So you're saying that's where your business started. How did it go through where you are now? How did you come to be not only, I know that it's not just the business, I know also that you play in a band. So tell us a little bit about all that.
Yeah, actually, very interesting stuff. So I think to me it is. Maybe you guys could find it interesting too. So I actually was always into music as well. Again, my mother is still a soprano singer. So I was around music and the arts, and her being into TV was something as far as how I got into marketing. When I first started with real estate, it was very different atmosphere than it is right now. I pretty much got into it as an investor at first on a pre-construction deal. I did very well with that. And then I wanted to kind of dive in a little bit more. So I started doing mortgages and, as a loan officer for a firm in Coral Gables. And, at that time, it was just a couple of different, fax covers and credit reports you would send to like 5 different banks, and over a quarter of a point, someone would probably go with somebody else. There was no, it was very different from now, but it was very easy because it was a time where the banks were offering a lot of these programs that in hindsight probably weren't the best programs, but it gave opportunities for a lot of people to get involved in buying and selling properties and refinancing and whatnot. So, I was under the impression that it was going to be like that forever. But then, lo and behold, we got hit with 2008. And at that point, things came tumbling down and I had to reinvent myself. So I remember going through my old files, looking for people that had 5-year, 3-year arms those adjustable loans, knowing that they probably were in a worse position now, paying a higher rate. And that's when the first time I heard the word modification. So I started a company called RMP Legal Referral Service, because you had to be a legal referral service to help people with their modifications. So I started doing that, and it was going pretty well for me. But there was a lot of sadness in some of the stories you would hear of people losing their homes and having to take their kids out of one school and put them in another school because they're losing their house. And so it just kind of started to weigh on me a lot. And there was a lot of changes with regulations in regards to modifications. The banks were still trying to figure it out themselves. So a buddy of mine came by and say, "Hey, how would you like to work part-time doing promotions in radio for the Miami Dolphins and for the University of Miami football program?" And I was like, "Wow, that sounds pretty cool." I wasn't making money at that moment after the crash happened, so I decided to explore that avenue while I was still, trying to service some of these modifications that I had started. And lo and behold, I fell in love with the whole promotion thing, and then I knew that in order to make a little bit more money in that industry, I had to get into the sales aspect of it. So that's when I took on sales for what was a broadcast company here before called Beasley Broadcasting. And they had 3 stations at the time, which were 560 WQAM, which is a sports radio talk, Power 96, which is another big station in this market here in the South Florida. And also we had the Kiss Country, which is a huge country station here in the market that I'm in, which covers Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, the Broward, Dade County, Dade and Palm Beach counties. So even down to Monroe, actually, some of the signals went. So that was my territory. That's what I was doing, and I loved. But during that time, to go back to what you were saying, Sandra, I met a really good buddy of mine while I was doing the modifications. He was actually in an office in the same building as me, and that's Mr. Daniel Monticello, which you know very well from Banker's Title. And me and him kind of hit it off as friends. We're more or less the same age, we were kind of in the same situation. And then I come to find out that he plays the drums, and I did a little bass and singing before. So I think that, we probably had more fun doing our band stuff than we did in work, but all in all, it's still all of it is very exciting. And we kicked off a band, and 12 years later, we're still playing in the same band together. And that band's called Ground Control. So I'll drop a little plug here. If you want to check us out, we're Ground Control Miami. If you want to follow us on Instagram or on Facebook.
What is the name, Pablo? I'm sorry.
Ground Control.
Ground Control. Okay.
Was a little song there from Dave Bowie. Maybe some people will remember it like that. But anyways, yeah, so Sandra, that's kind of how I fell into marketing. I started with radio there for a long time. I was doing radio sales, and then I decided to kind of do my own stuff and open my agency, a marketing agency, after I worked for another agency called Star Performance Marketing. So I took on some accounts as a regional manager. I had actually accounts in Naples, Fort Myers with Harley-Davidson dealerships for Scott Fisher out there, Blue Ridge, North Carolina, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Rocket, Alabama. So in some pretty markets where you don't find too many Pablos, let's just say that.
So tell me, when you said an account, and I will talk about the real estate world.
Yeah.
We as a realtors, we know that we have to have a brand, and we should be considering hiring special company that will guide us with all the process. So when you talk about account, is that what you mean? Do you take over from beginning and you offer all the service, or how does that work?
Well, good question, Sandra. We actually, if you ask me, my personal favorite thing is to get something right from the conception. When we get a chance to, right now we're working with a firm where we're even coming up with their name. and then comes the logo, and then comes their branding, and then comes their web development and their setups, and then from there, and then we start the campaigns. So that's ideal, but it doesn't come around all the time. A lot of times we come into companies that now want to just maybe do a rebrand or a change or enhance what they're currently doing. So we look at their overall marketing plan, and our goal is not to just increase a budget to try to give them better performance. We try to get the best bang for their buck. So we do, well, our little discovery meeting to find out and dig in deep to see where the areas of growth are, where we could help out and assist. And we try to see if we can move some money around that makes a little bit more sense for them. And based on that, we pull reports, we show them analytics. So we're constantly kind of holding the client's hand through the process, showing them how we can do better things for them with the current amount that they're spending at the moment, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. And it's so important to have the guidance, because there is so many offers out there that we can get trapped with offers that they said, oh, I will do this with your name, I will put your business on the top. And you get excited when you hear that, and you believe people that they are offering. But I think it's very important to always know and work with someone that either that it's involved in that that they have good reviews. So I always tell everybody, make sure, because I did a mistake. So I tell everybody, make sure that you know who you're working, and that they have experience in what you're looking for. It's always like that. So how long has been your company in the business, Pablo? This
We are coming into our 9th year as MC Squared, so we're very excited about that. It's going to be even better next year, right, for the 10-year anniversary. But I think that when we started this, that was the mindset, Sandra. To go back to your point, technology and how globally we are able to handle business now has been a great thing, but it's also kind of been a bad thing. Meaning, it's very easy for someone to create a facade of being an expert or being able to be a benefit to your business and help your business out. But in all reality, it's just you need to really validate that company and that business. And like you were saying, I think it's very important myself too. I like to know that I'm dealing with someone, a person that I could call, that I can question, that I can even complain to if I need to, if there's an issue, because not everything in life is perfect. But that's why you need to have somebody that's going to be understanding of that and has your best interest in mind. So yes, we pride ourselves in being very, our reviews are stellar up until right now. We have 5-star rating with Google. We also work with, not only, I can't tell you that a lot of companies could say we have the best team out there. Well, it would be foolish for me to say that I have the best team just right here locally, but I could tell you that's why the way that we are structured, we put together people that are already validated. My digital director, I mean, he's been doing it since 1999. My creative director works on huge projects, with cruise liners like Virgin and like Carnivals and things alike. So we are able to still offer the client an affordable solution by using some of industry leaders and some of the top creatives in the market, which I think is pretty beneficial for anyone that really wants to at least see what options are available to them, even if they're not ready for them at the moment. When we give a consultation and when we put together a media plan, we like to itemize everything and include a timeline that shows what happens next. So it doesn't leave the person guessing, or it doesn't leave any loose ends. And we don't overpromise to underdeliver like some of the people that you might have experienced, Sandra. And it's unfortunately that you have, but we like to, underpromise and overdeliver, right? I mean, that's the goal. So because then the client's really happy, and then that's where I think it relates to agents, anyone in any type of a sales atmosphere. If you need to go a little bit over and beyond, because those slight details is what really makes the difference, and that's where really my focus lands on is.
Yes, it's very important. Pablo, so if I'm new in the industry, because real estate agents, they get into the license and they don't know what to do. And I know you've been with many of them. So what do you think they should do? What do you think? Because some of them, they don't even want to spend the money because they might not have the budget for the marketing. So
Yeah.
what would be your advice for them?
Well, my advice would be, and it's funny because I touched on this in a couple of my prior calls today, um, because I was, I had two calls with two different real estate professionals today. So this was talked about. And I think that if you're first starting off, okay, don't get so caught up in everything that you need to become great. I think that if you're with a company like EXP, for instance, there's so many resources that you guys already provide your agents with setups, with individual pages on the site, with just training, everything that can really help them out. The templates that you guys use for your posting, for your social media, all of that stuff is ready and available already with the broker. So
Yeah.
take advantage of those things and use them to the best of the ability and learn them very well before you go outside and get pitched by someone else that's going to cost you money. Use those resources first, see how they work for you, and then let that determine if you want to take the next step beyond that, or if you want to maybe have your own type of brand where now you want to kind of be individual, still obviously under the umbrella of your brokerage, but you'll have your own look, your own color scheme, your own feel, and then you could make different collateral pieces and your items based on that. But as a starting agent, I would say that that's not where your real focus should be. It should be on getting some of these the pipeline filled and getting some of your deals done, so you will have a little bit of a budget to start allocating a percentage of that towards your marketing and towards getting new opportunities.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you on that, Pablo. So tell me a little bit about, and I think that's for any business and even for our everyday living. What what do you mean with setting goals? So
Well, I'll tell you something that I learned, I guess, the hard way. It's the little old school way. I had a very good sales training by a gentleman called Chris Jones, and he's a good old boy from North Carolina. And they flew him down into this market to train myself with four other sales trainers when I was in broadcast. I mean, I'm sorry, with other sales reps during my time in broadcast. And he ended up staying in the market and being a manager, but they brought him for that specific reason because he just he really had a good sales, I guess you could say, history, and he also was very well known for his training. So I'm sure he will like this plug that I'm giving him here, anyways. But Mr. Jones taught me a lot, and a lot of the things that I think that what were really stuck with me, it was about being specific. And I touched on this before in some of my trainings that I've done. And one of the things that I'll talk about today is called the Future Weekly Planner, which obviously now with all these digital calendars in your phone and Series and the Alexas of alike, it's very easy for you guys to set up your calendars. But I think that having it visually seeing it is very important, and looking at it daily. Here's what I mean by that. One of the things that I was trained in sales was that your your next week already has to be filled. You shouldn't be creating appointments within the same week. Obviously, you'll take any appointment as they come, but your time is very important. So if you could take an appointment the same day at the person's drop, it's because you probably didn't do a really good job setting up your week the week before. Okay. And believe it or not, people get so scared of not being available at a certain time for a client. But if you have, some people have their own digital calendars where the client could go in and already see what slots are available. That's genius. I think that's awesome because, maybe it's not genius if you're not a busy person, because then they'll see it all blank. But if you are a busy person, let them see that there's very little time, allotted for them, so they could take your time seriously. If you don't take your time seriously, no one's going to take your time seriously.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it's very important to be specific with your time. And those time slots, the way that I had it mapped out, Sandra, is I would have it by the hour, by the day, meaning I would have a little box. And this is old school I'm talking about, when you still had to fill it in by hand, okay? I would actually print this thing out, keep it on my desk, and visualize it and see it. Because if I had any boxes open, then I knew I have to do something. If there's a phone call I have to make, there's some type of an interaction that has to be done. So what's the most beautiful thing is when you're already going into that week and you look at your calendar and your whole week's laid out for you. You're not going to feel like you're lagging or you're slacking or you're behind. Plus, you'll see that your pipeline will always stay steady like that. Because come Thursday and Friday, if you only have 2 appointments set up for the following week, you have work to do. It's not time to cut off early and go to happy hour. It's time to get on the phones. It's time to text some of your relationships. It's time to maybe text another associate and see what doors can be open, what kind of networking events are going on. Where can I go and get another opportunity, or who can I call to open another door? And that's basically kind of like the carrot that needs to dangle in front of you for success when it comes to your week. As far as having a successful week, you could have a kick-ass day. Some people get too happy about that, then the next day nothing happens. Okay, keep yourself busy and make sure that time is not just, there's time for yourself in there. So some of the slots for the day, let's say Monday starts at 9 a.m. I remember my 9 a.m. slot time. Actually, I printed it out, my old Future Weekly, so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so time slots. Yeah. Okay, so this would be printed out on my thing. And let me tell you, everybody, there is a very big power in still writing things down, printing them out. It's like anything else. It's the time that you're investing and actually doing it is keeping it resonating in your mind. So I'm all about affirmations. Whatever you want to happen, like bring it out. Make it happen. So that happens with action. So take action. If don't just rely on your memory. Don't rely on you told write things down. Keep a task list. You could be a digital task list as well. So every morning in my 8 a.m. slot, I had update my task list. So I kept a task list of where I am with my clients. What's the last thing that we spoke about? Where's the last thing now? Obviously, Sandra, I have to work on my task list because there's a phone call I owe you. But for the most part, I do have this tracked very well, because if you're not tracking your performance, if you're not tracking and looking at the week before, and you could say, this week I did awesome, this week I didn't. Let me look at my weekly planners from last week and this week. Let me see what was the difference. What appointments were more meaningful than others? What time slots were wasted where others weren't? And then all of a sudden you start making those slight modifications, and you'll know how to make better appointments for the following week. You'll know how to not waste your time. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about when it comes to goal setting. It's really a lot of organization and discipline that goes into that. Because how can you set a realistic goal if you're not really focused on the details that it takes to get to that goal, right? Because I could say I want to sell, $2 million worth of property this month, or I want to sell $5 million worth of property, within this month. Whatever your goals are, obviously they should be increasing as you get better, and only you can be the true. You're the one that has to determine that. Should I be increasing my goals? Absolutely, always. If not, it gets easy. So, that's one of the. I think a future weekly planner is something that'll help you get to those goals a little faster, and it really leaves breadcrumbs as to how did I get here. You could go back and look at those planners, save them. If you're doing it the way that I do it, you could save each week's planner. If you have it on a digital calendar, then you could obviously go back at any time and you'll see what appointments you had set up. I obviously have my Google calendars. I send my invites and everything, but I feel that there's a power in me still printing out my future weekly planner and sometimes writing things down in there, or just taking a look at it, glancing at it, and making sure that I'm aware that there's still opportunities for me to fill in some space there with some appointments.
Yeah, yes, I that's awesome, and I agree with you to do the paper. I used to do paper, and then I decided to become digital. So I even have my notepad, everything in my iPad. I don't walk anymore with a pen. We were in training yesterday. Somebody asked for a pen, and I didn't have one pen. I was like, oh my gosh! But at the same time, I when I used to do my calendar the way you just show, it was different. I knew exactly what was coming. And like you said, your mind is looking, it's visualizing. The iPad is there, but you're not looking at it that all the time. It's not in front of you in the office, it's not in front of you when you wake up and ready for your day. Like I have my affirmations in the morning in front of me. And sometimes you look at these stickers everywhere, and those are my affirmations. I maybe got a little funny, but that's the way visualizing. So I found that using the iPad, it's not as good as using the paper.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, maybe for different. There's different types of brains, different types of peoples and their habits. I just know for me, it works a little bit better when I write something down.
yeah.
When and it's not to say I don't keep all my appointments on my digital Google Calendar or whatever the case may be, but I know for myself that in my world, if I'm looking at it, if I'm visualizing it constantly, if I have it pinned up right next to my workstation while I'm doing my day, it's going to keep me on task.
Yes.
And I think that's there's a power in that. And then the second thing that I wanted to touch on just is something that I used to keep with, which is called the SAMS report, which is a performance report, and it was a weekly report. So what I would do is I would have columns that would have abbreviations. Like for instance, it would say C for a closed business, S would be for submission, uh, P I would have if it was a phone call. So that each of my clients, existing clients, or the ones I was going after, as far as prospects goes, was lined up on the spreadsheet. And then each week, depending on what type of interaction I had with this client, I would mark it. So if I had a phone call with them, I would mark an X under the P for that specific client. Okay. So it kept track of that. And then there was a little cell that allows me to add in a quick description saying, we talked about it. They're not interested right now. They said to call them back in 2 weeks. Boom. So then that would go in there. And then to the side of that, it would have all the months laid out. It had a 100% column based on all the business I closed within that month. Then it would have different columns, 50%, 75%. So when I would pitch a new client, if I didn't have the signature or the close yet, depending on what I felt was going to happen, I would put it in that column. So if I thought that there was a 50% chance that I would close that client, I would put the amount that I was closing, the amount of money, in the 50% column. So that spreadsheet will quantify 50% of that money. So I could look at it at any point of the week, of the month, and know how much more or less I'm going to make at the end of the month. And it'll let me look 3 months out. So if I close billing, and in my world, it's a little different because I have, services that are ongoing billing, right? So these are something that, maybe it's a social media service where there's a payment for every month for a certain amount. So, you can look out in the calendar and see those, but whatever you sold within the month, that's how you're really going to break your goals. So that's just to show you. And I know it's a little hard without visualizing, but it's just to give you guys an example of the importance of tracking, at least for me, what it's been. And I think that I give a lot of the success in my life in sales based on that. So I would look at my performance on a weekly basis and see how many appointments I have set up. Going back to Mr. Jones, my trainer that I told you, we were supposed to have 12 interactions on a weekly basis, which were meetings, meaning face-to-face meetings. This is before the Zoom era. And now, obviously now I would expect for a sales professional to have more, because technology has made it a lot easier for you to have, just today, this is probably my fourth meeting, 3 of them Zoom, one conference call.
Yeah.
So, that's that. Before, you probably would be able to do 2 of those with a commute. right?
Yes.
Driving over here and having to come back, and if it's a lunch meeting, then there's 2 hours, there. So technology has actually made it easier for you to really look at your weekly progress and then track. So
Yeah, it's great. Technology give us the access to different ways to communicate with people. Like you said, Zoom can be anytime. I have people that I talked in Brazil, Panama, different places that they are part of our business, but before we couldn't have the access if we will not travel. So today, with everything that we have available, it's amazing what can we do, and it's really great. So I want to give you a big thank you for being here. I know it was a short notice. I love that you were available. I know that you were in one of our Agent Elevate trainings, and I would like to bring you back to there to actually visualize your setting goals in paper, or so they can see it there. I think it's very important to have a vision and know what you want to do. Setting goals is very important in life. Thank you very much, Pablo. Is there anything that you would like to say before we say bye?
no, I want to thank everybody that's tuned in to the podcast. I think it was great. I had a really nice time with you here, Sandra. Thank you so much. By the way, I love the opening, especially the track, the song, very cool. And I hope to be back on again. It was an honor for me. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.